Good evening, and I'm Deepu Esnath here at DBG, and this is Shiraz Samad. He is our UA team lead. Okay, so I know that you are today here to know about the most recent or most used JavaScript frameworks. Which all are they? Ember, Backbone, Knockout, and Angular. Okay, so before that, I just want to ask you some questions. That is, why are they known as frameworks? Are they actually frameworks? That is, we had learned about a lot of JavaScript libraries. Are they just JavaScript libraries? Just go to the next slide. Okay. So there are a lot of libraries here. Okay. And uh, what are the difference between these? Do you know the boundary which differentiate between these libraries? That is, some of these libraries can be replaced by other, but some others serves for entirely different reason. Okay. So, which all are the libraries from this that can be compared with each other? Can we compare jQuery with AngularJS? Are those both frameworks? No answer. How many JavaScript programmers are? How many of you have hands-on experience in JavaScript? Everyone want to start learning JavaScript, huh? Okay, how many of you have used JavaScript frameworks? Which framework you use? AngularJS, very good. Any other? Use jQuery. jQuery, is it a framework? It's a library, okay. So we can say that AngularJS, Ember, Backbone, etc. can be compared to each other. So this session, that is initial session, before going to the comparison between these four frameworks, I'm handling a session which will help you to set the boundaries between these libraries. That is, we will see categorize it into different. Okay, sorry. I don't know. Just go to the next session. Okay, so Jesus and it. Okay, so we actually want to compare apple to apple. If we want to compare, we want to know that which all are the apples and which are the oranges. Okay, and comparing jQuery to AngularJS is just like comparing a motherboard to processor. We can compare two motherboards or compare between two processors, but comparing a motherboard to processor is not something proper. So that is later in the session you will be understanding why I made this statement. Okay. So how many of you, is there anyone who attended last? Okay, you were there, right? Okay. That's good questions. Last session actually we discussed about how the browser architecture is and about different JavaScript engines, right? Browser engine, JavaScript engine, and why JavaScript is not consistent between different browsers, etc. So as most of the people are new, I just want to ask you that question: is JavaScript a buggy language? Does it work consistently in all the browsers? No. So is it a problem with JavaScript? Yes. How many of you say yes? Actually, how JavaScript works is web browser. Each web browser has a JavaScript engine, and it is derived by the browser guys, and it differs. And what this JavaScript engine does is it uses an API of that browser to manipulate the DOM elements. And if that DOM element, that API is buggy, that is JavaScript doesn't work properly in that browser, and it is not the problem with the JavaScript, it is the problem with that browser's JavaScript engine or browser's DOM API. And JavaScript is actually consistent. And anyone remember the first edition of JavaScript? What was the initial name of JavaScript? Do you know? EMI script, ECMI script or EMI script? Okay, it is ECMI script is not the initial name of JavaScript. It was initially known as Mocha. It was developed by this. It is just a retro of the previous session. It was developed by, who was that person? Nobody know that? Who developed JavaScript? It was developed in Netscape Navigator actually. He was an employee of Netscape Navigator. Brennan? H, right? He became the CEO of Mozilla Foundation for a few period, right? So Brendan Rich of Netscape Navigator created JavaScript or LiveScript. It was initially known as Mocha. Later it was known as LiveScript. And at that time, actually, Netscape Navigator started booming, and Internet Explorer came up with another scripting language called JS Script. Finally, there was a standardization. There is an organization called ECMA. They standardized the JavaScript. That is, these LiveScript guys went there and standardized the JavaScript to make sure it works properly in all the browsers. And all the scripting languages currently follow the standard called ECMA standards. And that is why it is called as ECMA script. Okay. Even the action scripting follows the same ECMA script. Okay. And there are a lot of JavaScript engines, and each engine differs. Just go to the code JavaScript. Next slide. So here, what I'm going to do in this session is we are categorizing. We are framework that we know into this section, so that we know that what is the actual boundary. Okay. So code JavaScript. Go to the next slide. So JavaScript engine is provided by the browser. Anyone know any of the JavaScript engine? V8, very good. Then V8 is used by which browser? Chrome. Chrome uses V8. Okay. SpiderMonkey. So there is Chakra, which is used by Internet Explorer, V8 by Chrome, SpiderMonkey, which is one of the first JavaScript engine. It was developed for Netscape Navigator. Later it is used, right now it is used in Mozilla. Then Nitro and Karakan. Okay. It is for, I think it is for Opera. Okay, Nitro is used in Safari. And these are the JavaScript engine that handles the JavaScript request on each browser. So, as you know, these JavaScript engines differ in different browsers, and there is a problem why it don't work consistently on all the browsers. So there are some JavaScript libraries that helps us to make it consistent among all these browsers. Can you give me an example of a JavaScript library that hides the browser differences and provide consistent cross-browser API? jQuery. Yeah, jQuery is a very good example for these DOM libraries. Then Moodle's etc. can be considered as based on JavaScript API function that is we know how to use, and they provide an abstraction, and we will be using those keywords and those their syntax for doing the development, and and they handle it consistently across all the different browsers. Okay, so they mask the browser difference to a larger extent and ideal for using basic operations like DOM, CSS, events, animations, Ajax manipulation, etc. We use these type of things, right? jQuery. But code organization or code modularization, it doesn't provide any support. It is up to the developer to write the code as he wish. And the most important problem with the JavaScript programming is that it is very hard to maintain, since right now it is we have very friend-end rich application. There are a lot of JavaScript code there. If one developer write in one method, other developer may not be able to maintain it. Okay, so this also doesn't support in modularization of code organization, but it's an abstraction to mask the browser differences. So you know that which are the base DOM libraries now, right? So whenever you see that it's the first level of abstraction is done by base DOM libraries, and which are the jQuery, Moodles, Protective, etc. Those also belongs to that category. Okay. So this category is clear, right? Now let's go to another category. Just okay. What do we call as a widget? Visual representation. Okay. A small container is a widget. What do we generally call widgets? Hmm? Shortcut, one click shortcut. Okay. That is something that provides a specific use. That is, it can be used only for that specific purpose, and it is something ready-made, ready to use. That is, we have a lot of JavaScript libraries, and there are some items that help us ready to use. Can you give me an example for that? jQuery UA, right? That is jQuery UA has lot of calendar widget that we use. Or so what we have to do, that is simply embed some code and it automatically show the calendar. And previously we have to write the whole set of code to write a calendar. We want to know all the algorithm and logic. Right now we can just use it in a single line of code, and we just need to worry about the UA or change making some changes in that. So anything that belongs to that category, we call it as a widget. It is for a specific purpose. A calendar widget, we cannot use it for showing time or some other use, right? And if there is a collection of such widgets together, bundled together, we call it as a toolkit. So there are many toolkits that we use. Can you give some examples of those toolkits? Okay, EXE.js, it is not actually, it also provides widgets, but Bootstrap can be considered, yes. So Dojo, jQuery UA is something. Scriptaculous is can be considered as a widget. Dojo can be considered as a widget, and anything that you here that serves for a particular purpose, you just categorize it and put it as widget or toolkits in your mind. So you'll be able to categorize it if there is any widget that you find. Okay. So is there any other widget in your mind right now? that can be called as a widget or a toolkit? Shuras? Kendo is good. Yeah. So it provides the for rapidly building web application and some features for building desktop user experience. Okay. So now let's go to another category which is called graphic libraries. So what should be the graphic libraries? It should be something that helping in graphics, right? Can you name any of the graphic libraries? Raphael is a graphic library, very good. So do you want to show some examples on widget? You can just show. So we just write one line of code and so 3 lines of code, okay, and we got it ready. And it is just because we used a widget, and it is of which one? Is it jQuery widget? jQuery, okay. Okay. So all these type of things can be known as widgets. So now we are at graphic libraries. So Shuras, can you show me some examples of graphic libraries?
Anyone know about WebGL? What WebGL is? Okay, WebGL is none other than Web Graphic Library, and it's used to create 3D, 2D, and all stuff which are related to graphics inside browser without the use of a plugin. That's what WebGL does. And here what they provide with the help of a library called 3JS, just a simple changing color, camera functionality.
So this is 360-degree widget. 360-degree JavaScript library.
No, this is
Then
called 3JS with 3.js. They are creating this.
okay.
And there are libraries like Snap SVG, Raphael. Actually, Snap SVG does none other than create what SVGs inside browsers, which support animation also. And here this one is using Snap SVG, pure SVG animations.
So the capability of browser-based application has changed a lot. That is, previously in all days we were not even able to think to handle these type of things with browsers. And introduction of Canvas actually made that a big leap.
Actually, modern browsers, every modern browser supports WebGL, SVG, and all like yeah, around i9 or i10 onwards it will be supported.
Okay. So provide an abstraction over the raw canvas. So what is abstraction? It is helping you to handle it quicker, and we can even develop online games. I had seen one of our resource developing a game in 2 hours time, and I was thinking that he took many days or even months to develop that. So right now using these libraries, the processing.js, create.js, kinetic.js, Raphael, Snap SVG, Paper.js. There are a lot of graphic library choices, and also image editors. You had seen any of you used Pixar.com, or that is where we can take an image and process it, change the tone, color tones, increase brightness, etc. All those image editing features can be handled with these type of graphic libraries. So graphic libraries help us for online games, image editors, and data visualization. So anything that does that purpose, we call it as graphic libraries. Okay. So now we categorize now something we know the DOM libraries, widgets, graphic libraries. Now we are coming to another section called web app libraries or MV star libraries. Here comes our favorites. That is today's session. That is Nitin and Laiju will be taking a walkthrough for you on all those 4 frameworks. So these are actually libraries, but we call them frameworks just because they help us to organize the code. It help to do a modularized coding and provide features for writing maintainable and organized code. Client heavy application usually suffer from code maintenance. Client heavy application, what is a client heavy application? What is a client heavy application? Too much of with too much of Java. Previously, long before, we just write JavaScript just for doing some validation and show some alert pop-up or some minute DOM changes. But right now, if we check, everything is getting handled by JavaScript. Even there is one page lot. That is a lot of single page applications are there. Even Gmail right now, there is everything is by hash. That is loading one page, and from there the entire website get handled. So the front end is too much heavy, and maintaining that should be easily possible using these type of frameworks. And some of these libraries that is when or frameworks when we use it actually affects the design or the architecture of that application, because there are few elements that we will discuss later called binding, data binding, routing, etc. So we have to decide that is how to architect the application, a web application, based on which framework we are going to use. So these type of things we call it as web app libraries or MV libraries, and you are going to have a detailed comparison about the big four. Okay, and now full stack frameworks. Full stack frameworks are nothing that is it will provide some based on libraries plus that is both level of abstraction, the widget and graphic libraries, everything together. Those type of libraries we call it as full stack libraries. YUI, Yahoo user interface, EXT.js, etc. can be considered as such full stack frameworks. And for example, there is jQuery UI plus jQuery plus different elements of jQuery together we can consider as a full stack framework. And those are all what actually we use to manipulate the DOM elements and show or display things in the screen or a web page. Now there are 3 more categories of JavaScript libraries which are not used for doing DOM manipulation or any of these support for the developers to do his web page easily. So do you know what is a module loader is? Module loaders? No? Never heard about module loaders? Module loaders are something that help us to handle that is library dependencies, and JavaScript code gets very nasty in the code based libraries. Instead of loading the files one after the other, module loaders can load them separately. That is, normally when we do a heavy front end heavy web application, we will be using different libraries, a lot of libraries, and there are many dependencies. For example, Ember need if you are using something in Ember, what is the dependency? jQuery is a dependency. Okay, so we do not have to load everything synchronously initially. Instead of that, we can use these type of module loaders like head.js or require.js to handle it, or that is to load it only when it is necessary. We write using require.js or head.js, we write these dependencies separately, and when something is invoked, only at that time that library get loaded. And so what happened is that the performance of the website increase. So is there anything that you have want to show in that?
Yeah, I'll provide some data.
Okay, that's fine. So those type of libraries help in increasing the speed of the application. It is not used to do in DOM manipulation, but loading easily. Now there are two more items. One is package manager and other is build tool. Have you heard about Bower, Jam, NPM, Olo? So these also belongs to the JavaScript library categories, but it is not used by the web application development. That is, it is not part of the web application, but it is part of the project development ecosystem. Project development ecosystem means it provides tools to install, upgrade, configure, remove resources used by the project. That is, we are using jQuery, we are using another jQuery UA, etc. So whenever there are a lot of dependencies, right? So this helps you to in the ID or development environment to download, to install things and handle it in a organized manner. Shiraz, do you have anything to say about that?
Actually, what a package manager Actually, what a package manager does is it will download, uh, for example, Bower. What Bower do is it will download a script and its dependencies. Actually, what it does is, for example, I need. Mm, how many of you have no color box? It's a simple, what to say, pop-up. Uh, when I install Colorbox using Bower or something like with a package manager, I just want is just mm, uh, it's simple. Bower install, what to say, just I'm searching something for.
So spelling.
Uh, mm, okay, just we have jQuery Colorbox. These are all Git repositories. I just click install. It's installed. It's,
And if you are installed, that is normally when we download and use the color box, that is we do not, if we do not know that jQuery is a dependent, see, that is we will try to use it and it doesn't work. But here when we use the package managers, it downloads all the dependencies automatically, and we can even mention that is up from which version or we have to download. By default it will download the latest version of all the dependencies. So that is why we use package manager, and it is not so it doesn't belong to the normal JavaScript library category. Okay, just go back to the slide. Okay.
I have completely deleted that Bower Components folder and installed one there, Bower Components / jQuery and Colorbox. jQuery is a dependent of that Colorbox. That's why both of these get installed.
Okay, so it helps in dependency management, easily manage the dependencies and versioning. Okay, and the last set of section that we want to handle is build tools. There are a lot of build tools available, and Yo is one of the most popular one, and Grunt is something that I think Shiraz is using here, right?
Yeah, we are using Grunt before, but now we are using Gulp, something which is more interesting than Grunt, and which is a new one.
Okay, actually this package manager, this build tools help us to build the application or the final build, make a final build of the application. And build tools automates various JavaScript like concatenating, minifying, JSHIN files. Anybody know what is JSHIN? JSHIN file help us to validate the JavaScript code. Just as we do W3C validation for HTML, we can use JSHIN to check that how good our JavaScript code is. So all these things together, we can use these type of build tools. They are not directly used by the web application, but external to the application, just like package managers. So before going to the closer look at the JavaScript libraries, I just want you to ask you one question, that is whether you got a boundary line between these different types of libraries. Whether this session helped you to create a boundary line between these libraries. Because whenever you see a library, you can understand or categorize it into different types, and you can avoid confusion, because this keeps on changing and new versions will be coming, and this base understanding should be there for you to handle it better. Okay,